It's your weekly breakaway for fun conversations on pro cycling. Come join us for another ride beyond the slipstream. I'm Matt Harper, and together with my brother Justin, we'll do deep-ish dives on professional bike races, teams, riders, and all sorts of cycling-related stories. So jump in the saddle and tighten up those shoes. The road awaits. Allez!
Hello and welcome to Beyond the Slipstream. I'm Justin and this is my brother Matt. And today on the show, we find ourselves entering the third week of the 2026 Giro d'Italia with a leaderboard looking pretty much exactly as we expected, with Jonas Vingegaard sitting atop the GC standings. The Dane has been looking magisterial, winning on mountaintops with his mouth closed, predicting wins in his pre-race interviews, and doing it all while under the weather, as we learned this week. Impressive is an understatement, and while the inevitability of his completion of the Grand Tour Slam looms large, his challenge to Tadej Pogacar later in the summer at the Tour de France gets more tantalizing with each passing stage. 7 of the top 10 spots in the GC competition are occupied by riders from so-called Superteams: Visma Lease-a-Bike, Decathlon CMA CGM, Netcompany INEOS, Bull BORA Hansgrohe, and Lidl-Trek. But what's that? No UAE Team Emirates? By some miracle, no. UAE does not have a rider in the top 10, but that's no matter. They've still managed to mop up about 30% of the stage wins. And the Giro ain't the only place where Superteams reign supreme. This week saw Red Bull totally dominate the 5-day-long 4 Days of Dunkirk stage race, while on the women's side, Team SDWorx Protime, the once and future juggernaut, completed a fairly dominant week of its own. So stay with us as we dig into all that and more. Plus, we'll have an Orla Fit Check, a fantasy league update, and as always, we'll finish out with a moto-assisted sprint on the streets of Milan in the Broom Wagon. Allez. Welcome to the show, everybody. Another wonderful week of racing in the bag. The Giro has shaped up and not disappointed, and in the least. I do believe that, we're not under very many surprises as far as the GC, but it has not been without its ups and downs, its trials and tribulations, and its wonderful successes. We've seen some really, really wonderful things this week. I know Alberto Bettiol's win reigns up there for me as far as one of my highlights of the last 2.5 weeks. What about you? What is sticking out in your mind about this Giro so far?
Some great wins, at least for this week. As you said, not only Bettiol's on stage 13, but Sagart's the day before on stage 12. Both of those were like late attack wins that were just super, super exciting. I mean, if you want to start with Bettiol, like the way he attacked, like in the thick of that crowd as they're like going up that climb, people screaming everywhere, and like the power of his attack as he just like plowed around the outside. And by the time he hit that inside corner, 2 seconds later, the speed was, you could visibly see the difference in the speed between him and was it Leknessem that he went past? Yeah, that was something else, man. He's an odd bird in a way. He's either feast or famine with him. He's either just like Nowheresville, but then suddenly he's like, oh, remember me?
Yeah, no kidding. Well, trust me, everybody remembers who he is this week. That's for sure. They had a lot of fun with it. After the stage, and apparently they celebrated in the old fashion with apparently a lot of booze. So I'm glad to hear that. I know that we really, that is a team that you and I have both, taken kind of under the wing because we are so enamored with, the team dynamic and what they're able to accomplish. It's been
The continuing Astana story is just, I mean, they just never disappoint. You know what I mean? If they're not out there mopping up, fourth and ninth every other stage of a stage race, they're taking a huge win. I mean, it's like nothing this team can't do. They already have 2 wins.
Do you realize that they're
in 15 stages?
They're in 5th place right now for UCI points. All right, the only teams that are ahead of them right now currently are Decathlon, Visma, Red Bull, and obviously UAE.
All the super teams.
Yeah, but isn't that
beating
crazy?
Lidl-Trek, for God's sake. Yeah, so. it's wild. That actually, the mention of Bettiol winning that day puts me in mind of something else that I wanted to mention. And that is, it was cool that. It's cool anytime an Italian takes a win in the Giro d'Italia. Would have been really, really cool that day if Filippo Ganna could have won, because it was like in his home region, if not his hometown that day. And he is not without some success here in this race and in this week, because we started off the week on Tuesday with his stage 10 ITT win. Completely dominant.
Yes. I mean, absolutely destroyed the field. I mean, there wasn't anybody close.
Yeah, I think, was it Timon Aaronsman, I think, got second that day, and he was still down like a minute and 25 or something like that. I mean, total dominance. But this is the thing with Ghana. Like, why... take a look at Diversnes's win on stage 15, or you look at Sagar, especially Sagart's win on stage 12. Why is Filippo Ganna not doing the Alex Sagart? Like,
he's done
10
it.
times.
Literally he did it earlier this year. He did it when he beat Wow.
Right. He got it that one time. But like, why isn't he doing that all the time with the engine that dude has got, and the ability to, he also has a sprinting ability. He has the 2 things that you need to do, final 1, 2, 3 kilometer breakaways. You need to be able to put in a huge burst of speed to get off the front, and then you need to be able to maintain that speed for a couple of kilometers to get across the finish line first. And I don't know, I find it odd that he is not going after those kinds of wins more often.
I agree with you. I wonder if it has more to do with what happens prior to those points. I mean, I would think that the stage would have to be pretty, like, really, really suit him for that, where he, it doesn't have to exert himself early on, you know what I mean? Because who knows? As big as he is, man, dude, even some of those lower category climbs that they go through on some of these stages probably zap him pretty hard. Yeah,
but the stage where Sagart won, like, that was the whole peloton was together. Everybody was
yeah, but that doesn't mean that he didn't exert himself a lot to be there.
And I will admit that, like, INEOS or Netcompany has a lot going on in this race right now, with Aaronsman, in the top 5, I think, and Bernal kind of hanging in there as well. So he could be forgiven if he's burying himself, in service of the other riders. But yeah, I don't know. I think in general, he seems to be missing opportunities, or they could be gearing him for more opportunities, because I think he's got what it takes to win. Let's talk about how Alex Sagart won that race. I mean, I got to give that guy so much credit. I mean, it wasn't just his speed and power. Very, very canny reading of the race.
It's a very astute move. When he makes his move, it was just perfectly timed, and he's very good at it.
Well, not only is it timed perfectly, but the fact that Lease-a-Bike had 5 guys on the front of that race, and they have zero interest in winning. They are not hunting stage wins at all. They know that they're going to get stage wins every time they go up a mountaintop finish with Jonas Vingegaard. So all they care about is being in the front and keeping everybody safe, not being in the mix or whatever. And they basically provide perfect cover for Sagart to get off the front. And one of the absolute camera shots of the year is it was basically like just after Segart was clear of the Visma squad on the nose of the peloton. They're coming around a right-hand bend, and there's like a stone wall on the left. And for just the briefest of moments, you got nothing in the shot except Alex Segart kicked over at about a 45-degree angle coming through that turn, and no sooner is he out of the turn than he is just stomping on the pedals. This is what he showed us that he was capable of at the end of last year. And this is an exciting guy to watch, and it's just interesting that he finds himself in and amongst this other super team that's got all these other weapons. I mean, Paul Sexas is the big story on this team, except that this week, Felix Gall is the big story on this team, except this week, Alex Segart is the star. Like, it's just wild, man.
Yeah, well, and let's not forget that they also have somebody that's basically had zero mention for the entire year. They have another giant sprinter named Olaf Koy.
Yeah,
who's been sick all year, and you would literally, again, they're definitely a super team. I mean, there's no doubt. Like they've got a lot. They have who's the other guy?
Sam. What's his name?
Tobias Lund Andresen.
Oh yeah, Tobias. Yeah.
Who's also been killing it this year. That's what I'm saying. Like that team has major depth. I said it at the end of I said it during the off season the most, that this team has major depth, all right, and they have a lot of potential to do a lot of stuff. And now that they've got the GC guy, they've got the sprinters, they've got the domestiques. I mean, this is a team that the sky's the limit for sure.
Well, it's an embarrassment of riches. I mean, they don't have the GC guy. They have two GC guys, if we're willing to include Felix Gall in that, who's very likely could end up in second, in the Giro. So they got two GC guys. They have in Alex Segart, they've got a TT guy and a puncher guy. And then, as you said, they've got Olaf Koy in there and Tobias Lund Andersen as sprinters. I mean, like, it's depth and breadth.
A stable of really good domestiques like Pedersen and what is that other guy's name? I wish I could say. I wish I had. They got
Pari Pantra as well. That is a team that is fun to watch, and it's just shaping up for such a fun Tour de France. I mean, really, really incredible. Speaking of which, go ahead. I was going to say,
let's jump over to the other big super team, and in my opinion, they should be winning, all of the team camaraderie awards. It's Visma Lease-a-Bike, dude. Like, this team is all in for Jonas, and they are dumping themselves to keep him where he needs to be. And as we can literally see, if you saw the pictures of Tim Rex just in pain,
so great,
doing 400 watts up the most ridiculous climb that we've seen so far, and just completely crushing himself to death to put them, in position. And then you've got Vic Campenarts, who is the teammate of teammates, apparently. I mean, just the best dude that you could have. Literally, and it's in my notes. If you scroll down, there's like this great shot of him just dumping water on Tim Rex. And, between, those two, Koos, and in my opinion, probably the star of stage, 14 on, with the big climb is Pignazoli. All right. Pignazoli is he best be on the team. He best be on the tour team.
He's like the Jonas of like 6 years ago, like when Jonas was like making his big announcement, like the Pignazoli is like right in that spot. I mean, good Lord.
Oh my God,
like
dude.
he got second on that stage, I believe.
Yeah.
First of all, Tim Rex, that is, it has to be the single greatest pain face I have ever seen in watching a bike race. Like it was It was absolutely, I mean, the agony that was written across that man's face, it was unreal. And I mean, they had a field day with it afterwards, in the breakaway. Sure enough, the very next morning, Anders Milka is out there and he's like, so Tim Rex, what's up with that face you pulled yesterday? I mean, everybody is making a big deal of it. And I love the way Campenard swung at, doused him down with the water, but then he was just like, I don't know if you caught it, but like he was kind of chatting to him, and basically what he was saying was, you're not done. So I know that was a lot, but there's more to go. So get yourself back together, get back on the front, because we're gonna need some more work out of you.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's no doubt about that.
Just awesome. Yeah, and I mean
they seem to have a coalescence that is just very, very, very strong. And they, and again, I mean, Sepp looked good. Obviously, Pignazoli just, I mean, he looked better than Kuss, in my opinion. And he did. He got fourth on that stage. He only came in behind Gall and Hindley, all right, who are your GC leaders. And I'm pretty sure that Pignazoli is top 10 right now on GC. All right. I'm really like in the 90% surety if you could double check that. All right.
I can double check that for you. Piganzoli,
I think he's in the top
not
10.
In the top 10.
Then he's just outside of that.
He is at 10th.
See?
That's right.
Right.
That's right. He with that performance on that stage, he scooted into 10th position.
So now, and obviously, all right, so, and you can tell that this confidence is moving through the whole team by, I think one of the cool things that really came out of this week was Jonas Vingegaard, of all people, all right, who is typically the most like laid back, chill guy, calls his shot, all right, the night before this big climb. Is like, yeah, we're going for it. Like 100%. I have a couple of quotes here. Hold on, let me pull them up here. So the night before he said, "I'm ready. So is the team. It's a stage I'd like to go for. It would be fantastic to get the pink jersey, and the goal is to have it in Rome. I've always said that every day you wear a leader's jersey, it's an honor." And then ahead of the stage, he literally says, "Yeah. We're gonna win. We're gonna win today. We're going to take the jersey. We're going to win today."
Yeah, he's freaking Babe Ruth pointing to left field.
And then exactly, and then they go out and do it, and then we find out that he's not even been 100%. That he's been battling illness for the last 10 days.
Impressive.
Like, and what does that mean? See, because now my wheels are spinning when it comes to the tour, okay? Because we know that Wout van Aert is putting all of his training focus right now into his tour prep. All right, so now into this mix, we add in Wout van Aert, okay, who we know is a tremendous teammate, has helped Jonas win 2 tours already. All right, I'm assuming that Pignanzoli goes. All right, I know Campenarts will go. So there's 4. Okay, so there's 4 riders right there. You have to imagine that they take Kuss, right? They have to take Kuss. So that's 5. Tim Rex has completely shown his worth. So I put him.
I don't think Rex will be going.
You don't think Rex will go?
No, I mean, I think he has certainly made a big statement, but I don't think he's quite there with some of the other guys that they have.
And so who do you round out the other 3 spots with? If we assume that Jonas, Wout, Vic, all right, Pignazoli and Kuss are all there. Who are your other 3 Visma riders that go to the tour?
I don't know. I mean, they've got Hagenez, who is a great domestique, who is not here.
Wilco Kelderman, who
Kelderman is out. Matteo Jorgensen is out, at least right now. Kelderman has nothing on his.
Kelderman God, I didn't
on
even think
his
about it. I didn't
schedule.
even think about Jorgensen's probably in there.
Jorgensen is out right now as well with a collarbone. But he does have Tour de France on his schedule, so I guess he's supposed to be coming back.
Interesting. I don't know, man.
And then I don't know. I could see. What's Laporte? Laporte's got nothing on his program. He had a training crash. Thinking who else could be in there.
Either way, it doesn't. At this point, to me, they have the pieces that could take Pogacar on. But again, I think it's going to come down to tactics. I think they have to push him. They have to push him. What they have to do is isolate him, in my opinion. They need to isolate him and push him as hard as they possibly can, because they have to break him. Like, if they leave him, if they play the safe game with him, he's going to beat them. He just will. He's just too good. So they have to do something different. If they want to win the Tour, they have to do something outside the box. They are not going to beat him head to head. All right, we know that it's not going to happen. So
I disagree. I'm not willing to say make it a firm, hard statement. They can't beat Pogacar head to head. Their domestiques are as good as UAE's domestiques, and looking at Jonas's performance all year long, it's impossible to say whether Pogacar is better than him right now. I mean, he really seems like he is putting out the minimal amount of effort. I mean, he wasn't even winded at the top of the climb at stage 14. He didn't even look stressed at all at the top of that climb.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, will Pogacar, put him into the red or close to the red? Sure, but he could be on just as good as form. We don't know where Pogacar's form is. We have to assume it'll be fantastic. It always is, but I don't know. I think this one could end up being like the battle for the ages right here, and especially coming off the importance of this Giro win for Jonas, because he will be so much more relaxed going into the Tour. Yeah.
Well, and you also have the wild cards of, Remco and Seychelles now going to be in this mix. So you're going to have a lot more people throwing attacks at it, and that could benefit Visma if they are just playing their own game. So I don't know.
Absolutely.
I think the Tour is shaping up to be extremely interesting, hopefully. Way more interesting than it has been in the last, especially the last 2 years. The last 2 years he's just absolutely dominated it. It's been a couple of years since we had a Tour that was really, really interesting. But this one is shaping up to have a lot of interesting bits, and they have made it hard. They have purposely tried to Pogacar proof it. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I mean, as memory serves, like Jonas last year was just kind of like a half step off anyways. Like he did not seem physically to really be there. This year it seems like a whole different story. I mean, I know that some people were talking about kind of like, oh, well, why didn't Jonas do better in the TT? Why is Jonas only winning by 20 seconds over Felix Gall instead of a minute and stuff like that? But I think all of that is down to him just holding back a little bit, knowing that he's got the Tour de France coming, and feeling very confident that he's going to win this race. Like, he is not worried about winning this race at all. And when it comes to his TT, while he has put in really stellar TT performances in the past, most of them have been on uphill courses, and this was like an absolute pan flat TT.
40-kilometer time trial. Yeah, I mean, this thing was
Yeah.
super huge, and if we're to believe what's been said, he wasn't feeling well, but he still cut 27 seconds of his deficit to his competitors on the time trial. So he didn't have a great time trial, but he still cut GC deficit with the time trial. So, yes, he didn't win, but he was never going to win considering what Ghana did. So, I don't think you can really, I don't think you can fault, I'm saying that you can't fault him. You can't say that he's having a bad tour by any stretch of the imagination, because I think you're right. I don't think that he's putting himself in the red, and I don't think he's been putting himself in the red specifically because he hasn't been at 100%. And
yeah, I mean, if you look at
not
the,
at 100%, and this is not 100%.
I mean, if you look at the ITT, I mean, every single person that could possibly challenge him is below him on the finish line. I mean, Storer came in behind him.
Yep.
Came in behind him. Hindley came in behind. Bernal, Harper, Gall. Like they all finished way down from him. So he ain't worried.
I agree.
Bodes well for your fantasy. But he's going to be going up against my fantasy juggernaut. So, yeah.
Yes, I know.
That's going to be fun. We'll get into all of that.
Yeah. We'll get into
later.
That later. So continuing on with the Giro. All right. Where do you stand on the controversy on stage 15? So stage 15 ends with a 4-man breakaway. Deverness takes the stage win. I also want to get to the stage win with him here real quick, but we've already talked a little bit, this season about the motorbikes and there being there's a lot of griping going on when it comes to these motorbikes and drafting and what's his name came out and said flat out,
what's his name? Max
Valscheid. Max Valscheid came out flat out and said, I'm doing 500 watts and I know what I can do. And and the fact that I'm outputting this much power, and so are a bunch of other guys, all right, that are putting out that much power, and we can't catch them. It seems impossible. And you had Tobias London Andresen waving off the bikes to get away from the peloton. All right. Now, I don't know if that's because he knows he's got a teammate up front and he's waving them off so that the peloton doesn't get the benefit, or if he's waving them off because, he wants to keep everything fair. But, I understand everybody saying that, this is how it's always been. And, they've been, when you're going into a city center, it creates a vacuum. And, Robbie McEwen, was talking about it on the breakaway. I get it. But the other part of the equation is that all the equipment and everything with the riders is getting faster too. Are they, could they be benefiting even more now than they did in the past from, being essentially drug in by a motorbike? And it's also, you had 3 Italians in the breakaway, in an Italian race.
Yeah, I mean, there will be no definitive answer to the question. You can't know what was in the mind of the motorbike driver, or if there's a grand conspiracy amongst the race organizers, and they're calling down on the radio to the motorcycle guy saying, "Slow down a little bit, man. Help those guys out." I mean, it would be hard to believe if that was going on.
I doubt that that's happening, and I don't think the racers are. I don't think that there's a grand conspiracy, but I think that there needs to be some amount of, awareness of it to keep this.
There definitely is awareness of it.
Yeah,
they talk about it all the time. I mean, it's always coming up, whether or not it's happening or not. But I mean, I look at those comments that he made after the race, and I credit him for being outspoken. We always like it when racers are outspoken like that. Certainly, if no other reason, gives us a little something to chew on, a little razzmatazz. But by the same token, watch the last 10 kilometers of the race and tell me which teams were on the front trying to pull it back, because the only ones I really clocked on the front doing anything were the Rose Rockets, and I feel and yeah, Lidl-Trek, and sure, Max, who was it? Max
Valscheid.
Yeah, Max Valscheid was part of Lidl-Trek,
Yep.
and they were working, but he could just as easily be pointing the finger at any of those other teams that were out there with sprinters who were just sitting in the wheels, not doing their share of work. It is inexcusable for the peloton not to have caught that breakaway. They never let him get that far out to begin with, knowing full well that it was going to be a sprint finish, and you got played. That's kind of the way I see it. I don't think that. I mean, because they were well behind those guys. It wasn't like they were swallowing them up as they crossed the finish line or whatever. I'm pretty sure all four of those guys in the breakaway got across the line before the first guy in the peloton did. So
they did, because Magnier beat the best of the rest and took the points jersey back. He was fifth.
Right. So I think in the end, Valscheid was just finished sprinting and his adrenaline was up and he was pissed off, and I think he could have been just as angry at his fellow riders as he was at the motorbike. I mean, the way he said it seemed so astute, like, not possible. That was 100, I mean, he seemed so matter of fact, like, oh, that was 100% the motorbikes, because with the speed we were going.
I know how much power I'm putting out. He made it very scientific, as Matt Stevens said. He had a very scientific answer for it. So, did you catch on stage 15? I did put it in our, in the show notes, we'll have this week on Instagram. Did you see where the race, like, I don't even know what you'd call it, the broadcasters put the chaser symbol on the guy on the other side of the canal, the amateur that was like riding with the peloton on stage 15? Did you see that?
No, like on purpose, like being cheeky?
Yeah. There was a guy. So on stage 15, obviously we have a sprint stage. It's fairly boring. There's not a lot going on. At one point, they're going along this canal, and on the opposite side of the canal, there is like a bike path. And or a road or whatever, but there's a parallel road to the main road that the riders are on, and then the canal, and then this little road. And there's an amateur out there doing like 50K, in keeping up with the peloton. And the broadcasters put how like when they'll put like the little arrow like from the body, and well, they put it on this guy and it says chaser. And they're like rolling along with it. I put it in the this week on Instagram. You should definitely check it out if you get a chance. It was one of my favorite little moments of the week. This is, I mean, I say it. I'll say it now. I'll say it again, I'm sure, next week. This is by far my favorite of the Grand Tours. I love this race, and I think that the beauty of this race is unmatched. I think that it's a really, really, really fun Grand Tour.
When they were going along that lake on stage 14, I think it was, it just doesn't get more gorgeous than that. I mean, some of those shots where you could see the lake in the foreground, the hills rising up, and then off in the distance you could see the Italian Alps. I mean, just,
and they had like crazy shots.
Stunning.
There's a great on the Giro website. They have and on the Giro app they'll have like some photos, and there's just some unbelievable photos. There was a photo from, I think it was from Sunday's stage, where they were like looking at the peloton like through these trees. Like, it's just like some of the stuff that they come up with, man. It's just crazy. The
great one,
are amazing.
there was one on stage 12. It was like 162 kilometers to go or whatever, like way back in the stage. But it was this unreal helicopter shot where they're kind of like following the riders and you see them disappear into this tunnel. And then the helicopter flies up the side of the mountain, like while they're below in the tunnel. And as he crests the top of that mountain, you see this like unbelievable valley out in front of you. And it's got one of those elevated roadways that they've got all through Europe where it's like, 200 feet high pillars with this like roadway running down the center of this valley. And they kind of linger on this like beautiful panoramic shot. And then they start zooming back into that roadway. And sure enough, boom, the riders come out of the tunnel and it keeps going. And it's just like,
Yeah, the helicopter work is amazing in this race. I will say I'm definitely a little disappointed. I haven't seen a single drone shot that I can think of.
Yeah, I don't know that I can recall any drone shots either.
Disappointing.
Speaking of visuals, one last thing I wanted to shoehorn in before we put the Giro portion of the show to bed. Tadej Pogacar, he wins Milan San Remo, and when he wins, he assumes a position that is, I think, hitherto something we haven't seen out of him, which is like the very low to the bars, leaning off to the side thing. Jonas Vingegaard has now adopted that position as a winning as like a winning gesture, because on stage 14,
do you not know what he's doing?
No, what is the deal with that?
He's kissing his handlebars. There's a picture of his wife and kids on the handlebars.
Oh.
He kisses the picture 3 times, and then he sits up, kisses his ring, and then he puts his hands up.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought the ring was for the family, so I didn't realize, because I've seen that picture. They zoom in on that picture on his handlebars like before every stage, it seems like.
Yep.
Aha. Okay. All right. Good. Well, I'm glad to have that put to bed for me, because I've been wondering about that. It just seemed a little too coincidental that as soon as Tadej Pogacar has like kind of made this gesture. I mean, I think his was more like that was like his bike throw, and he was just happened to be there when he won that race. So good to know.
Jonas's is much more purposeful. He kisses the picture, kisses the ring, and then does Viking Jesus.
Yeah, Viking Jesus is also good. And I mean, like, just like I said, he couldn't have just looked any more calm, collected as he won that race. He's just like sitting up and smiling. I mean, he's barely breathing. Like, it's
by the way,
really
he looked great in blue. He looked even better in pink.
Yeah, what an assassin.
Dude, he made that pink kit look good. Real quick before we put a pin in it, what did you think about them neutralizing the stage and like all that like hullabaloo about, whatever, them kind of
the same way as I was
with them.
I don't know. I guess I'm turning into like the old guy or whatever. I'm just kind of like, it's freaking bike racing, man. You're gonna go to Milan. There's gonna be shit on the roads. Like, deal with it. I don't know.
Yeah,
like there's city finishes like this are a huge part of Grand Tours. It's like seeing all those crowds and everything. It's
I know it's definitely part of
fantastic, and there's a safety concern in having stages that stretch out in one big long line versus putting them into a circuit course. Yes, the circuit course presents other safety factors, but it alleviates other safety factors. So it's I don't know. I'm kind of the same way as I felt about the thing with the motor pacing. It's like it's kind of a part of bike racing. Like, those guys know that if they're in the breakaway, they might be getting some motor pacing. So it's part of playing the game. So I don't know.
All right. On that note, we'll put a cork in it. We'll come back. We're going to talk super teams and their dominance in cycling right now. And we'll get into the Vuelta a Burgos. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Please check out our other show, Inglorious Brothers, a pop culture show with cult classic swagger. Search and subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, or click the link in the show notes.
Welcome back. So One of the things that we wanted to talk about this week is the dominance of super teams and how it is relating to the current landscape of the pro peloton. And it wasn't kind of more obvious than in the Vuelta a Burgos with the ladies this week, as Misha Bredevold, who is, the I don't know, super domestique, maybe. I don't know how you'd call it, because dude, she wins as much as a top rider. So at this point, so it's almost hard to call her a super domestique. But she is, she takes takes a stage.
Can I make a comment about
Sure.
that?
Sure.
I have for years loved this one thing that I've always loved about Team SDWorx. They're one of these embarrassment of riches type teams and have been for years, even though Vollering, is out the door. They still retain 3 giant heavy hitters plus Anna van der Breggen.
Thank you for not making her one of the 3. Thank you.
And they are so good at, I'm either totally switched on as the focus of my team, I am the focused rider, and everybody else goes all in for me, or I am all in for somebody else and not maintaining any kind of personal ambition insofar as this particular stage is concerned. You know what I mean? Like it is teamwork at the highest level in a way with this team, because they all have these weapons that are completely capable of dominating a given stage or winning with authority on a given stage. And because of that fact, the others are absolutely willing to go all in for them, and Lorena Vibas is a domestique many days of the year. Lotte Kopecky is a domestique many days of the year, and it's the same with Bredevold and all those other, and Anna van der Breggen. I mean, she's the biggest one of all in a way. She almost never takes the opportunity for herself. That's to their credit.
It is to their credit. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're sharing the wins. Everybody gets a little something on that team, it seems like.
Or a lot of something.
Or a lot of something, yeah. I don't want to take away from what Misha Bredevold's done over the last couple weeks, because she's been riding extremely well, but it's, it wasn't, I wasn't thinking about it before you brought it up this morning, before we started recording, but you're right. I mean, it's right now we're seeing an utter dominance. It's crazy because we're seeing 2 types of dominance in pro cycling. We're seeing the Tadej Pogacar dominance, which that in and of itself kind of dominates its own conversation. But then one rung below that, you're right, most of everything else is getting mopped up by these bigger teams. Now, that's not to say that there aren't wins by Astana and wins by, Movistar, and, the blind squirrels are finding nuts in different places. However, in the World Tour races, it's almost exclusively, big ass teams that are taking the wins. You know what I mean? Again, you're going to have your stage 15 of the Giro where a X mobility rider, wins from the breakaway. It happens. But you're absolutely right that even a decimated UAE team at the Giro has, 3 or 4 stage wins at this point. No GC rider, but they still have 4 wins. And when you look at the women's side of things, it is kind of like, 4 big teams are winning everything.
Yep. I mean, you need look no further than the first day of racing this week, Tuesday. We got an ITT won by Filippo Ganna in the Giro for Netcompany INEOS, and you got the Dunkirk Classic with the 1-day race to start off Dunkirk week, won by scrappy young American Artem Schmidt. Go USA. And that was he won that race with authority. I don't know how much you watched of it, but
I mean, it was Pogacar-esque solo breakaway.
Yeah, and I loved the image as he crossed the finish line covered in mud, just looking like a warrior, the young man. So I mean, right there.
Well, and
You
that,
know, so,
and as INEOS moves its way out, I'm sure that they're going to grab another giant big sponsor because they are the premier British team, and I would assume that they will have no problem picking up another title sponsor that keeps them in their with their giant budget. You know what I mean? Because they've been having a great season. They've been having a resurgent season, and again, it's not GC. They haven't taken any, major GC wins, but they're picking up stages and one days all over the place.
yeah. Move forward a day, this past week to Wednesday, only one, big race. Jonathan Narvaez wins for UAE. Go forward another day. You got Segart from Decathlon winning in the Giro. You got who was it? Oh, Vibis winning for SDWorx Protime in Burgos. Day before that, you had Lawrence Pithy on Wednesday, winning for Red Bull. I mean, your only outliers this whole week between the men and the women was a Fenix Premier Tech win by Yara Castelline in Burgos, and the Movistar win from Tetsfazion and the Uno X win.
Yeah, you're right. And I mean, you look, and I would not say that Fenix Decathlon is not a big team. I mean, they've got Puck Petersa and plenty. They might not have the budget of UAE, but they've got some big hitters. And I will say that's probably Yara Castelline's biggest win. And she dominated that climb. All right, like she deserves all the flowers because she rode away on that stage. But you're right. Outside of 3 or 4 different wins, it's all big teams, and
right.
I wasn't seeing it until you said it, and now the more I think about it, the more right I think you really are.
Hey, the Antwerp Port Epic for the women, SDWorx Protime, Femke Marcus wins.
Yeah.
As if their three wins in Burgos weren't enough.
Well, and it's pretty amazing the depth that these big teams are able to produce and how they can win in all of these kind of different ways. And they've got, you're right, it's an embarrassment of riches, but it's like amazing to me how deep the bench goes with some of these teams. It's, what I mean? They're, you're like, oh, they have so many good riders that you're like, oh, I forgot that this guy is on that team or that gal is on this team.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
And I mean,
it's crazy.
Some of those weapons too, like, you said that like Pogacar is like a singular Pogacar event when it comes to, the win factor or whatever. But I mean, Lorena Vivas is basically his equal. Like she just cannot be beaten. Like there was the one blip a couple of months ago where she got a 6th place or something. It was the first time it had happened in like 2.5 years or whatever. But I mean, she is so dominant.
Well, and she was boxed out.
Even,
she wasn't in the sprint. I mean, like
right.
She didn't get a full run up.
And even when she sets up Breidevald on stage 3, she still mops up 3rd.
Yes.
It's just ridiculous. So I do have to thank Yara Casterline for snatching that GC win away from Misha Breidevald, so I could at least not get pummeled quite as bad this week.
I still pull it out. I still pull it out of Jersey, though. I still pull it out of Jersey because Breidevald won the points. Or not Breidevald, but Weebus won the points.
Yeah.
So I still got a GC jersey. So that was a smooth 25 points from her.
Yep. And then if you the other stage race this week was Dunkirk, and we got a fair bit of dominance in that race by yet another one of the super teams that we haven't spoken about as much. Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe.
Yeah. And totally from their like B squad. Like, and their B squad is still dominating 5-day stage races.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I forgot to mention also in the Antwerp Port Epic won by Femke Marcus for SDWorx. Second was Marta Locke for SDWorx. Oh, and third was Femke Heritza from SDWorx.
Yeah, they did. They took a 1, 2, 3 in that race. Yes, that is correct.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but turning to Dunkirk for the men. Number one, Pithy grabs the first sprint over Kokart and Askey with an absolute like perfect positioning move on the inside line. I mean, what's his name? Lewis Askey absolutely could have won that race if he wanted to. If he would have stayed to the right and known that the very the last two curves that finish a little bit better.
Too many turns coming into that finish, in my opinion. That I did not like the way that race ended.
Well, Askey was a full bike length ahead throughout that last little stretch or last little like 250 meters, maybe even a little bit further out, and was looking strong. And it was just the way it ended. It was a right hand bend but with the finish line very shortly after the bend, and Pithy just at the last second, just like snuck through the right hand side, and won because of a bend in the road, essentially. But he won nonetheless. He's a great rider, the Kiwi, and managed to hold on to that GC leaders jersey for the rest of the race.
Yep, no, he absolutely did. Victor Papon took stage 2. Rasmus Tiller stage 3. I don't know, man. It's crazy to see these smaller races also, because I mean, you will get those in some of these smaller races, like where you had Tom Krabbe, pull a couple of stages a couple of weeks ago, and there are smaller teams that can win, but you're right when. It's hard to say, man. When you put even Lawrence Pithy and Danny Van Poppel and Jordi Meus in a race, like that's not a bad squad, man. Especially when you're not going up against some of the biggest riders on, out there.
Yeah, Meus, bookended the week with the win on the final stage, and we finally got a bunch sprint in that race. It was like 4 straight days of like reduced group sprints and then a bunch sprint. Another team. It's funny, the other teams that we're talking about really that are not these super teams are the Astanas of the world and also Uno X, like two teams that sort of like save themselves from the jaws of relegation over the past couple of years and are now just consistently getting good results. We saw Uno X take the big stage on Sunday yesterday in Milan with the Versnes, and then Rasmus Tiller gets the win over Pithy on stage 3. So it just seems like there's some other teams out there that are just doing nothing, like FDJ, like
they're non-existent as far as
like Picnic
in the men's,
Post, like
in the men's,
like EF.
Considering how much they win on the women's side, FDJ, because obviously they've got Demi Vollering.
Yeah, but I think that's one of the ones where those two teams are not related.
Well, but on the men's side, I mean that's a non-existent team. Picnic Post and L, non-existent team.
Yeah, I'm telling you, EF this year is like non-existent too.
EF is a perfect example. Like EF's going to end up digging themselves a hole. I mean, where they were consistently getting a lot of top 10s. And, sneaking out a stage here or there. I mean, they need one of those Val Green, kind of out of nowhere wins.
They need something.
They need to do something in this last week. I don't know what, but again, it's tough. They don't have Carapaz. Carapaz is one of those guys that can win a stage for them, especially when the climbing's tough.
They need something out of Ben Healy big time.
Yeah, well.
I guess the absence of Nilsson Palace throughout the last couple of months has also not helped them as well. But yeah, Meanwhile, your Uno X's and your Astanas just go from strength to strength, and so the great wheel continues turning.
I think it's crazy to think that when you look at the current UCI point standings for teams, that Astana is in fifth behind the teams that they should be behind. They should be behind UAE and Visma. All right. They should be behind Lidl-Trek and Decathlon. Like, those are four teams that Astana should never have more points than. But then they're number 5. All right. They have more than Netcompany INEOS. They have more than
A lot of teams.
All the teams. They have more than all the teams besides those 4. But the fact that they are able to, they're able to put together a package that works for them to be competitive when they know that they're not going to take certain things. And because of that focus of, why are we going to strive for something that we can't accomplish when we can strive for the things that we can accomplish? And they're very good at it.
And if you think about it, if your goal is to always be, getting 2-3 guys in the top 10, top 12 or whatever, the law of averages is going to say that sometimes they're going to win. You know what I mean? If you're consistently putting guys in the top 10, you're also going to consistently pick off a few wins here and there.
And they played in Astana, especially plays to their strengths. All right. They know how to capitalize when the opportunity is there, and they play to their strengths very, very well. And the Bettiol win is a perfect example of a guy that, hasn't won a Giro stage in 10 years or something like that. And, he's able to come away with, probably one of the kind of most heartfelt wins of the week. But I
loved how his girlfriend just about like attacked him when she finally saw him. Like the photographers are like trying to hold her back or whatever, and she's like, I'm not going to be denied. And she goes like bolting over there and like throws herself into his arms. And then as it turns out, like she was from that area, the Filippo Ganna area, and like had a giant contingent.
He has a lot of friends there.
Well, it was like apparently it's like all her family. They're like they've all become like giant Alberto Bettiol fans. The whole fan club was out by the roadside. But
you have guys like Diego Ulisi, who, by the way, I put this in my notes because it popped up when I was watching. Diego Ulisi has raced 50,000 kilometers, all right, in 303 stages of 15 Grand Tours, all right, which is equal to 1.25 times around the world, all right. But you have riders like him, like what's the
well, they're the one guy. Their guy won last week and had the pink jersey for 2 days, right?
Yeah. But there's somebody I want to shout out. Damn, I want to go to their PCS page because there's one of the riders, I can't think of his name right now, who I want to shout out. Hold on here.
Davide Ballerini.
No, he's another one, but they have a great team.
Christian Scaroni.
Ballerini is who won. Scaroni, Clement Champoussin. All right. This guy is an amazing teammate, and he keeps these guys in a very competitive way in many, many races. And it's the support of, they don't have any one rider that is like where you would go, they have their leaders, so don't get me wrong, but there isn't a single one of their people on their team where you'd be like, he is hands down, way, way above the class of everybody. You got a bunch of blue collar racers racing in a blue collar style and being very successful at it against all odds, considering the amount of firepower that the teams ahead of them have. And they are finding ways to win. Do they have as many stages won in this Giro as UAE? Do they have 4 or do they have 3?
I think they have three. They've got the Guillermo Thomas Silva win in like stage two to give them the pink jersey, or maybe it was stage one. They have the Ballerini win, who is unfortunately out of the Giro at this point. He had a crash the other day. And then the Bettiol win.
Yeah, three. They have three. They have three stages. So they have three stages. Yes,
So strong.
You're right.
Three stages and I think 2 days in pink.
Yeah, and three stages in out of 13. They
Yeah.
could easily come away with a fourth stage win. They have
very
almost
impressive.
as many stage wins as the juggernaut UAE team, and they have as many stage wins as Visma.
Yep. Well, that's going to change. Something tells me Visma will end up with a few more stage wins.
I'm thinking it's going to be. I'm thinking
as-
this is my prediction right now. Is they're going to come away with 5.
That sounds like a good number to me. Another team that, by the way, I forgot to mention when we were talking about Red Bull, they also took all 3 jerseys in Dunkirk. Lawrence Pithy took green and polka dots as well, or I don't even know if it's polka dots. Maybe it's green and white. One team that one of the second tier teams that has, I feel like it's just kind of been a big part of the conversation this year without any really significant results, is Movistar. I mean, they got a win for Eritrea, which we must shout that out. Another Eritrean has won a bike race, not Nel Tetzfatzion, on Saturday at Dunkirk. Huge win.
Super cheeky move too, man. Like I loved it.
Yeah, really, really great move. Poor Enrique Mas, there was absolutely no way in the world possible that he was going to beat Jonathan Narvaez on stage 11 on Wednesday. Just not yet, but he was there. He was out there. He's mixing it up. I mean, he dumped his GC aspirations after like the third or fourth stage, but has been somewhat of an animator. You've had
Sarah Martin was animating for the women in
well,
Burgos.
yeah. I mean, on the women's side, there's a lot more going on, I feel like, with that team. But on the men's side, though, I mean, they've also had another guy that was really animating things the other day. Who was it? Oliveira? No. Ina Rubio. Ina Rubio was out there mixing it. Of course, that guy Romeo has been having a good year. Quintana. Quintana had that win.
Is the current Spanish champion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Movistar has both Spanish champions on both on the men's and women's side.
Pretty sure Raul Garcia Pierre got a win this year. That guy Olar or Luis Olar has been mixing it. So I feel like Movistar is like, uncharacteristically kind of omnipresent this year. They seem to be a team that the track seems to be going up for them at the moment.
They have Ken Udebrooks as well on that team, right?
You got your boy Kian.
Yep.
Who hopefully is he going to be their Tour de France guy? He is going to the Tour de France.
I assume he is their Tour de France guy.
He is going to the Tour de France. So,
I've always said that I think that he is better than what his results belie him for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, the upshot of this entire conversation, however, is that
listen, don't forget Sandy Dujardin, all right, from the little tiny Total Energies won the
Energy.
Yeah, won the Maryland Cycling Classic. We can't forget that.
I will never forget that. I watched him win it live. Sunday Dujardin. Yeah, but the super teams continue to super team all over the place.
Yeah, no, they really do. So, do you have anything else before we kind of make our way into the next part of the show?
I do not.
Okay, so why don't we hit our Orla Fit Check before we start rolling into the kind of the end part of the show, because I feel like she really stepped her game up this week. Finally, I don't know how you feel.
I think while this week was better than last week, I think she is still a step below where she was last year. I don't know.
I do agree with that.
I feel like there's far less color in her wardrobe this year. My other takeaway is her best looks are sleeveless. Her best look of the week was Saturday when she had the cargo pants with the pointy toe shoes, and then she just had the white tank top on.
No, that was Friday. That was Friday.
Oh, you have it as Saturday in the notes.
Or no, sorry, it is Saturday. Sorry. I'm looking at it backwards. You're right. Sorry, Saturday. You're right.
She looked like a complete badass in that one.
I liked, and it is sleeveless, but I liked the Wednesday look a lot. The blue, like, I don't even know what you'd say. It had like an off the shoulder situation going on.
Yeah. That was I thought the most interesting look of the week. Certainly the most sort of fashion forward, I would say. Second place would probably be her Tuesday look with that strange coat over top of the
I feel like she looked like the principal of a private school.
Yeah, but that's an interesting coat. I don't know that I've ever quite seen a coat like that where like the lapel is just cut off halfway down. Like not even the lapel, the whole like front panel is just like cut off halfway down.
Yeah,
It's
almost like it's like a shoulder like shawl type of situation.
Yeah, it's very, very bizarre piece of clothing there. I thought the Thursday look was kind of forgettable, that like sort of pegged leg pantsuit situation did nothing for me. The Friday look, she looked cool and sporty in the Friday look. She's like in a one piece kind of romper. I think between that one and then the next one, like her sporty looks, I think are better. She's a very fit. She has a very athletic build and is like a very fit person. And I think like those types of looks suit her maybe a little bit better.
I think if her Sunday look had color and not been white, would have been much better.
She also, she kills it in like a short skirt look. You know what I mean? Like she's got very athletic legs, and like she's not putting the legs out there at all. It seems like this year either. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see where she goes in week 3, but once again salute you for taking the time to get those into the notes and saving me the trouble, because I do like the Orla Fit Check.
It is one of our favorite parts of the Giro, because we don't get to do it during the tour because we've got NBC.
We'll do Bob Roll and Phil Liggett's fit check.
We'll do a Bob Roll beard check.
Yeah, the beard. We'll do a beard check.
All right, so that'll take us to week 2 of my fantasy dominance.
Of your comeback, the comeback kid.
Look, dude, if you want to talk about 2 weeks where my hole is still very significant. All right, but 2 weeks where you net 0 points,
it's crazy,
is very good for me.
I mean, I barely had anyone riding at all. I mean, I had Maeva Squeebon in Burgos, but
that was basically it. So I had another pretty good week. I added 51 points to my total for May, so that brings my May total to 147 to your 43. So I've scored more than 100 points to the better on you. So that is something that I needed to keep this competition still competitive.
Well, this is what I've been saying all along. When you were woe is meing a couple of weeks back, it's just like, who knows what's going to happen in this thing? Like there's just no predicting it. Like we'll see when we see.
Well, and that brings you to 777s and a total for me of 563. Also, I have no points from Ayuso, from Almeida. that is a part of it. I think part of the equation that I'm not taking into account is that people that would have garnered me points, have not been present at all. So hopefully moving into the summer, I'll be able to pick up some extra points from those guys.
Yeah, and I don't have points from Kim LaCour, or I don't think Pauline Ferrand-Prevot has gotten any points this year either. So
you have definitely scored points with both of them, but just very small amounts, very, very small amounts. So that is all for the fantasy update. That's going to take us into the Broom Wagon, and mine is a little bit longer. And so what do you got?
I am going to give another big rollicking endorsement to the cycling podcast this week. So, of course, mentioned the cycling podcast before, but I don't know that I've ever completely dedicated a Broom Wagon to endorsing this show. But I really believe it's the best thing going in the podcast world when it comes to professional cycling. The quality of those shows is just unsurpassed. And while I'm an avid listener of Lantern Rouge and some other stuff, the SBS podcasts, and for what they're doing on those shows, they're doing what they do very, very well. But the cycling podcast, it's like the gourmet meal of, it's like the molecular gastronomy of cycling podcasting. The production values are incredible. And I think where they really shine, I mean, it's hard to say where they really shine. They nail it on all fronts, but their Giro coverage is especially good. They send a team to each of the Grand Tours, but Daniel Friba is the one that helms the Giro coverage, and he's one of the three founding members. Of course, it's founded by him, Lionel Birney, who is also a big part of the show in other ways, and then Richard Moore is the guy who passed away tragically a few years back, who was much beloved. So one of those guys is always on site, traveling around and following around the Grand Tour. Freebie goes to the Giro, and he's got like a special place in his heart for Italy. I mean, he absolutely loves Italy, and he is such an incredible host. He's a total scholar, knows tons about cycling history. And he's like a top line, well-respected reporter, gets killer access. He's got full, as deep of a press access as somebody in the press can get. The show is riddled with interviews from, all kind of coaches, riders, top level riders. I mean, he was interviewing Vingegaard the other day. And he's just erudite and cultured, and he's really accommodating. He is able to play off of his co-hosts really, really well, and like turn the spotlight on them and give them their moments to shine.
They crank those episodes out fast.
Yeah. The shows themselves have a really great, like, kind of boots on the ground vibe. You get a really good idea of like what it's like being a journalist covering a Grand Tour that's moving across the country, and hearing what their days were like. They've got great sort of recurring segments, including like most of them have their own like theme song, and if you listen to the podcast over the course of years, like they become familiar. They become as much of a part of the event as anything else is for you. That theme song, that cool Italian band that they got, and it's so great, and it sets the stage. Each day, what's his name, Palacci, one of the what's his name, Michele Pilacci, who's the Italian guy that co-hosts the show, rates each previous day or each day's stage on a scale of 1 to 5 sausages, because his family's in the sausage business. There's another segment called Tomorrow's Stage, Yesterday's Dinner, or Today's Dinner, where it's like they talk about the upcoming stage, and then they review what they had for dinner and like how good it was, and et cetera, et cetera. So you get to hear about all this like local cuisine. When they're in the Spring Classic season, they've got Corbet's Corner, and they freebie because he's been a journalist for so long. Has got a relationship with this guy Hugo Courbet. He's a Belgian dude who used to write for the big Belgian newspaper, I think Het Nieuwsblad or whatever. He was like the cycling guy for that newspaper, and freebie knows him, and so now he gets him to like come in with like a little review of whatever in the spring classics. And of course Hugo Corbett, he's a longtime journalist, guy's amazing at what he does. So there's all of that to love. They've got an entire other show for the women's side of the peloton. It's got its own hosts. They've got Rose Manley, Denny Gray, and Rebecca Charlton, and it's like same format, same vibes, but 3 different people just executing on a high level. And then what I really love, did you catch their Kilometer Zero series they did, Meltdown, the race to escape nuclear disaster? Incredible. So Lionel Burney, usually, but in this case it was Daniel Friebe, put out like a limited series podcast because the race was starting in Bulgaria this year, which was like a former like Eastern Bloc country. He went back and he did this thing, taking a look at this race called the Peace Race that they used to do back then throughout like the former Eastern Bloc countries or whatever. And it took place around the time of Chernobyl, and the year after Chernobyl, like they raced that race and they were in the fallout zone, like it was quite dangerous. And many of the teams were like, nah, our riders aren't going, we're not going anywhere near there. But like these other smaller teams sent riders and stuff. I mean, the whole thing was absolutely gripping podcasting. I was hooked. So in addition to the best like day-to-day, regular bike racing podcast in the world, they are also putting out these one-off, two-off limited series episodes that are just incredible. So if you're not listening to this podcast and you're a fan of pro cycling, you're just shooting yourself in the foot, get on it. It's called the Cycling Podcast. It's incredible. So what do you got?
Well, we're going to do a little history lesson on Justin's Broom Wagon today. We are going to be talking about Alfonsina Strada, all right, who lived from 1891 to 1959. Alfonsina Morini Strada was an Italian female cyclist who is the only woman to ever ride in one of cycling's 3 grand tours, having ridden in the Giro d'Italia in 1924. Born in Castellafranco Emilia, near Modena, she was the daughter of a peasant family. According to lore, she grew up a tomboy, playing with her brothers and friends and riding her father's bicycle till she was 10, when her father bought her a bike of her own in exchange for chickens. Some accounts say that villagers she passed while riding would cross themselves, as her riding the bike was seen as a devil's activity. She won her first race at 13 and almost every race she entered after that, even boys' races. Her reputation earned her an invitation to the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg in 1909. She was such a success that the Tsarina Alexandra wanted her husband, Tsar Nicholas II of Russia, to give her a gold medal. She won 36 races against men and became friends with such riders as Costante Girodenga. She raced at Bologna, in Paris, and twice rode the Giro di Lombardia at a time when it was open to all. In 1915, she married Luigi Strada, who was also a rider and racer. He gave her a new racing bike with dropped bars as a present. The couple moved to Milan, where Luigi acted as her trainer. Strada's ride in the Giro d'Italia came about through a disagreement between the organizer, Emilia Colombo, and the top riders of the day. The riders refused to take part. Colombo did what the Tour de France had done and offered places to whoever wanted to ride. Gazzetta dello Sport promised to pay their bills, their hotels, and their food. Strada entered as Strada Alfonsine. The absence of the final O or A to her first name hid her gender. She was accepted as number 72, and assuming her to be a man, journalists began writing of Alfonsino. The truth emerged the day before the start, and by then it was too late. Battling brutal weather, unpaved rocky roads, and a severe crash that snapped her handlebars, which she famously repaired using a peasant's broomstick. Strada initially kept pace, but was eventually excluded by race referees for finishing outside the time limit during the grueling 7th stage. Recognizing her immense popularity and the massive crowds gathering to cheer for her, race organizer Emilio Colombo allowed her to continue riding as an individual. Showing immense resilience, she finished the entire 3,613-kilometer course to Milan, ultimately crossing the finish line ahead of 2 male competitors and earning a triumphant reception from the public. Isn't that awesome?
I love it. I'm completely fascinated by this woman. We need the biopic movie of this woman. I am going to nominate, I think her name is Monica Bello, the woman that played Joan Baez in the Bob Dylan movie from a couple of years ago. I want her playing Alfonsina. I want this movie, and that reminds me of the message that you sent me earlier today. I know we didn't do a news segment, but we can throw out one little tidbit that I'm quite excited about. What was the name of that film? Do you recall?
I'll have to look at our texts. Hold on, let me go back and look. So it's a Natalie Portman movie.
It's called Pumping Black.
Yes, Pumping Black.
And it's in the vein of Whiplash and Black Swan, psychological kind of thriller. Two minds battling it out against each other. I can't wait for this thing.
Yeah, dude, I'm super excited about that as well. It is going to be very, very good. And apparently it's already done. So hopefully it'll come out sometime very soon. So,
I mean, it says that it was already picked up out of Cannes. So I would think, that it's good, that it's done. I wonder if there's a trailer for it. I'm about to look that up right now. The Pumping Black trailer. And there is a teaser trailer.
Ooh, all right, well,
which actually has Natalie Portman on the bike in the opening image. I don't even know if I want to watch this trailer.
Yeah, don't do it yet.
I don't want to know anything about this movie. You might have to come down and watch so we can watch this together in a theater if it gets a theatrical release.
All right. Yeah, we could definitely try to make that happen.
We will most certainly be covering it on the show.
We definitely will be covering it on the show. That sounds like a perfect off-season topic.
We're covering it as soon as it comes out.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, that's all for this week. Join us next week as we finish up our coverage of the year's first men's Grand Tour. It's Giro d'Italia Week 3. The second women's Grand Tour of the season begins this week as well, so we'll dig into the opening weekend of the women's Giro d'Italia. And we'll also take a look at the biggest gravel race of the year, Unbound, taking place in Emporia, Kansas, with the men's and women's elite 200 races kicking off bright and early on Sunday morning. Until then, for my brother Matt, I'm Justin Harper. Thanks for listening. We hope you join us again soon for another ride beyond the slipstream. Allez.
Beyond the Slipstream is a part of the Harperama family of podcasts. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Please like and subscribe, smash that button, leave a 5-star review, and most importantly, tell all your friends about us. Thanks for listening. Talk to you next time. Allez!